What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Here we are with another reaction. In this one, we have why I left the UK for Australia. A completely honest video. Before we dive into it, if you guys happen to enjoy, please don't forget to subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, and let's see what we got. What was so appealing about the land down under?
I tried everything to make my life work in the UK. I was grinding away at my career, I was pushing through the brutal cold and the dark winter nights, all the while convincing myself that London was the place to be. But deep down, I was miserable, so I did something drastic. I packed up my life and I flew across to the other side of the planet and moved to Australia, Brisbane to be specific. And honestly, it's changed everything. And it wasn't just for the cliche reasons of the nice beaches and the lovely weather. There were some huge reasons behind my decisions that might actually surprise you. So if you've ever considered moving to Australia, or you just desperately want to get out of where you live right now, then stick around to the end of the video so you can find out my 10 biggest reasons I moved to this country and why I'm never looking back. And by the way, before I get into this list, a bit like I explained in my 10 reasons you should move to Australia video, which is linked above, it's not perfect here. While all of my reasons in this video are generally positive, it's still not a perfect country. Australia is still going through a cost of living crisis like the UK is in other parts of the world. And it's not like there's an abundance of money and opportunities here. It's an amazing place, but it doesn't come without its struggles. But so far in my experience with the last year I've been living here, I've really loved it and it's made me genuinely happier. So the first reason that I actually
I feel like no matter what, you're gonna find that struggles in whatever country there is, because no country is perfect. So 100% we know about Australia, cost of living, rental crisis, we know about these things.
Moved here was because I was miserable in the UK. The only thing keeping me in the UK was my family and friends, and honestly that homesickness hasn't gone away. But
I feel that.
I remember watching James Smith's video on 10 reasons
Such a good video. Such a good video.
You should move to Australia. And he said if you're unhappy in the UK, you can't put your life on hold just for your family and friends. Obviously, if you've got kids or elderly parents or something like that to look after, that's a different story. And then I was thinking, yeah, true, but then it's gonna be a lot of traveling. And then he said, oh, with the traveling being like a day of flying to the country, while most places take a day, and while I think that's a bit of a stretch, when you are traveling to go on a vacation, perhaps, it often does take a whole day of time. But I was just really struggling in the UK. My wife and I, we were living in a tiny one-bed flat in London.
Wow.
And we're both actors and we were both chasing the acting dream. I started a freelance video editing business and it brought in consistent income. But in order for me to get that going, because it was just me running it, I was spending 10, 11 hours a day just working on that. By the end of the day, I had no time or energy. Not only that, but the winter days in the UK, which feel like they go on for far too long, they are so cold, they're so dark, you only get a very small window of sunlight. It does cause seasonal affective disorder with a lot of Brits because we're not getting enough vitamin D and it affects our mental health. It's a real thing that loads of Brits suffer with, and loads of Brits are deficient in vitamin D. So it didn't really make sense us being in the UK for family, because we weren't able to see them that often anyway because they were in a different city. So basically I watched this video by James Smith, which was excellent, and then I showed the video to my wife and we both watched it, and it kind of convinced us to move to Australia. And we were like, we're both miserable here, we both don't have any time or energy, we both have seasonal affective disorder and a vitamin D deficient, let's go move to Brisbane. And so we did. Number two was I
absolutely freaking love that. They just said, you know what, like, things ain't working out like we expected them to. I guess we're not as happy as we thought we'd be. They're both miserable. They're both not really around their families anyway. And so, yeah, why not? You know what? We're not happy here. Let's pack it up and try to be happy somewhere else. And Australia was the somewhere else.
Already visited Australia a few times before, with my wife being Aussie, and I absolutely loved it. Just the way of life here seemed much more enjoyable. People were friendlier, and honestly I go into more detail of why I love Australia and the things I love about Australia when I visited here in my 10 reasons you should move to Australia video. So that's up there if you want to go check that out. The third reason is my wife's Aussie. So we have lots of family here.
There you go.
And she's really close with her family. And thankfully I get on really well with her family because they're just the best people and I love them a lot. But this is the difficult thing, right? About being in a relationship where you're both from two different countries originally. If you're close to your families and if you love the other person, you want to make sure the other person has adequate time with their family. But while you're with the other person's family, you'll miss yours, and then vice versa when you're with your family. So it can be hard. Like, it's not the easiest thing to do, right? But you can't put your life on hold for
Facts. I moved not to a different country, but like 12 hours away to where I grew up, around my wife, and we're around her family and stuff all the time. And her family is absolutely amazing. I love them to death. Like, they're really cool. But being around them, it does make me like miss my family too, and miss like all my friends and family back home that I used to always be around. And so there is that pull that makes you want to go and see everybody and spend that adequate time with family.
others. My mindset is if I'm going to live in a different country, then I'm going to work my butt off so I can build the businesses to make the money to fly home to the UK business class whenever I want. So yeah, we've got loads of family here, so it's just a no-brainer. And honestly, having in-laws here, having relatives here actually makes moving to a different country much easier. By the way, if you're enjoying this video so far, could you do me a favor and just hit the like button? It just pumps the video out to a few more people, which really helps my channel. The fourth reason is that it feels like you're on holiday. Now, the typical tradition for a British person in the summertime is you will go away for a week or two holiday, if it's in the budget, if you can afford it that year, to a country like Spain, for example, where it's very similar to Queensland weather. There's palm trees everywhere. It's hot, it's sunny, it feels a bit tropical. That's what you do as a British person. And honestly, from what I've seen growing up in the UK, those 2 weeks that you're on the summer holiday for are the best 2 weeks of your whole entire year as a British person, because while British people continue to live in the UK, we don't half complain about the not good weather. We don't half complain about, you know, being a bit miserable there. We just don't like to express it that much because we're quite reserved. And then when you are flying back home, you're just miserable and you always get off the flight and it's raining. Anyway, the weather here is just excellent. There's tropical trees everywhere, tropical birds everywhere. There's lizards popping out the bushes. There's sometimes, very occasionally, you see a koala in a tree. It's just really good vibes and it feels like you're on holiday. So when I am working on my video editing business, it doesn't feel as bad and as miserable as when I was in the UK. The fifth reason is that it has an...
Oh my God, that's absolutely freaking dope. Shout out to my guy. That Australian weather, I've seen from many different blogs, from many different videos, is absolutely incredible. And then just being on the coast, living that beach life, living a chill life, laid back, kind of. I just want to come to Australia so freaking bad. Y'all don't even understand. But
up-and-coming acting industry. A lot of Australian actors are moving to London because there's typically more opportunities and they hear it's the place to be. But since I've been living in Brisbane, I've seen way more acting opportunities than I did in my year 2023 to 2024 of living in London, which it really has surprised me. A lot of casting directors and studios in Australia are actually struggling to find Aussie actors because the pool of Aussie actors, or actors living in Australia I should say, is so small that they then have to start looking outside of the country for casting. So because the pool of actors is much smaller here, I would actually argue that you have a higher likelihood of booking work, and I would argue that there are more opportunities, even if the number of opportunities is smaller than the amount in London. Number 6 is that there is a better work-life balance. In my opinion, from what I've seen, I've got quite a few Aussie friends and I've obviously got Aussie family, and they just work less than my friends and family back in the UK. I don't come from some affluent background, by the way. My mum is a teacher and my dad was a traffic engineer. But the work-life balance here seems so much better. After work, people actually seem to have the time and energy to go to the beach or pop to a nice restaurant or go hang out with their family in the garden. And a lot of people in Brisbane have a pool. And so people will go over to their mate's house or their relative's house to jump in the pool. And in the UK, that just doesn't happen as often. With my friends and family, we would get back home from a full day of work, absolutely broken by the work, miserable because the weather's rubbish. It's already pitch black by 4 p.m. And you just pop the kettle on, you make a cup of tea and you just watch TV for the rest of the night. Like, you might argue, yeah, that's still work-life balance, you're just not doing anything. My point is that because the weather's so excellent in Brisbane specifically, because it's such a beautiful place, and a lot of jobs here seem to pay a bit better than the UK. I'm not saying it's like massively better, but there are quite a few jobs that pay better than the UK. People just seem to want to do more with their life outside of work, which is just such a healthy thing and such a lovely thing to see. Number 7 is
I mean, that's pretty lit. We definitely know about the work-life balance. Australia, they're gonna work hard, but then they're gonna play hard. They're gonna enjoy life. They don't live to work. Whereas kind of in the US, you see people working a ton, and it's like a grind culture and a hustle culture, and trying to outwork the next man. It's all about work, 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 work. And people are forgetting to live. And I feel like you don't want to let life pass you by. Because, yeah, I understand working to the point where you have more freedom. But in that journey of just trying to push yourself, enjoy life. Like, we have such a small amount of time on this earth and you only get one life to live, and you don't know how your story's going to go. So enjoy every single day. Enjoy life. They weren't happy in London. They moved to Australia. They made a decision to be happy.
To travel ever since I left home for university at 18 years old and moved down to Cornwall for 3 years. But then after that, I booked an acting job in Japan for 2 years and lived there, which was excellent. So moving to Australia for me wasn't that scary because I was used to packing up my life and traveling abroad. However, a lot of people might not be used to that. So if that's you, you might want to prepare a little more beforehand, both mentally and sort of physically with what you pack and what you bring. Because when you first move to a different country for the first time in your life, it can be a very stressful and daunting experience. But once you settle into the life here, it's much easier. But yeah, I love to travel, so it's a no-brainer. And also, Australia is massive. There are so many different climates and beautiful areas in Australia, so it's just an excellent place to, travel within as well. And that brings me on to number 8. It's great for outdoors people. There are so many beautiful areas. You can hike to waterfalls, to jungles. You can go to the Aussie Alps and ski. You can go to Tasmania, which has loads of great places. Also, I know it's not Australia, but New Zealand is just over the ocean, much closer than other countries are. So you can visit New Zealand and, go to Hobbiton. That's what I would do. And I found even just going for a walk in my local area in Brisbane is absolutely lovely because the weather's great, tropical birds, tropical trees, people are happy, people are friendly. And it might sound like I'm overselling it and hyping it up, but it really is like that. I was shocked when I came here from the UK to see the increase in positivity in people here compared to people in the UK. In the UK, we don't go outdoors as much unless you don't mind getting cold or it raining on you. And by the way, I've done my gold DOV award. I've done many an expedition in the UK. I'm a very outdoorsy person with quite a lot of hiking experience, and it's just a bit better for outdoors people in Australia. Of course, the UK has amazing outdoors.
The weather is sounding absolutely terrible. Like, when you talk about this UK weather, I'm like, God dang, this weather, this ain't it. This just ain't it. It sounds awful.
Places to go to, and of course we should visit them more.
But when UK weather, I hope I said that right.
When it comes down to getting outdoors, a lot of this comes down to willpower. And I believe that if you're someone who gravitates more towards better weather, you will want to get outdoors more in Australia than you would in the UK. By the way, I've got a free weekly newsletter that you can subscribe to if you are interested in becoming the best version of yourself and living an even happier life. And it's completely free, and it's only a 3-minute read that gets sent to your inbox every week. So if you're interested in that, go subscribe to it using the link in the description below. Number 9 is, like I've said, people seem to be happier here. I think Aussies by nature are more laid back, more friendly, more welcoming, more up for having a chat with you in a cafe, when you're on a walk. People will chat to me way more than they ever did living in the UK. And I'm not just talking about London, because Londoners do not talk to each other. I'm talking about when I lived in the countryside in the UK, in the Cotswolds, which is a very friendly place actually, and you still say hello to people when you pass them on the street, but people just seem a bit more stressed out there, right? So they're not as willing to stop for a long chat. But in Australia, everyone seems like they're chilling. And this isn't just from my friends and family, this is from strangers that I've literally met in Brisbane. Every other time I leave the house, whether it's to go for a run or pick something up from the shops, someone will stop and have a chat with me. So it's just awesome. And number 10 is that my money goes first.
Shout out to the people of Australia. Shout out to my Aussies living down under, who are living their life to the fullest, who are living a happy life.
Further here. Yes, Australia is still in a cost of living crisis. I live in Brisbane, and Brisbane, for me, is way cheaper than living in London. My wife and I lived in a 1-bed flat in London. It was tiny, genuinely tiny. Each room, pretty much you could do that and you were touching the walls. Here though, with slightly less than the rent we were paying in London, we can afford a spacious 2-bed apartment with a balcony, because the London place, it didn't even have an outdoor area. No balcony, nothing. We could open the windows a crack and that was it. So yes, this country is still in a cost of living crisis, but after living in the UK and living here, my money goes way further in terms of the rent is cheaper for me compared to living in the UK. The bills are cheaper. The food can be cheaper, but the supermarkets are a bit pricey. But there's other things that can be cheaper, like my phone bill and things like that. So that's a bonus. Now, these reasons were just my personal experience. I'd love to hear if you've had a different experience or you even agree with me in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, I know you're gonna love the 10 reasons that you should move to Australia. Click this video here. This is more applicable to, you instead of me. So go watch that and hit that subscribe button. It really helps support my channel and would mean a huge amount to me. And if you want to start seeing some amazing improvements in your life, then go subscribe to my free weekly newsletter in the description below. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.
Y'all talk to me in the comment section. I got to hear what y'all thinking about this one. It sounds to me like he had so many reasons for wanting to leave the UK and move to Australia, and for him, Australia is just a better place to be. He's a much better fit there. Y'all talk to me in the comment section. Let me know what you thought about the video. Very intrigued. If you guys enjoyed, don't forget to subscribe. Give the video a thumbs up. Check out the next one. I'll see you guys next time.